mastery. So much of what we do in this business, and this is like a big picture talk that I'm going to do, and this is a tough business. This has never not been a tough business. It's simple, right? But it's not easy. Okay. It's a very simple thing. You talk to lots of people, you develop relationships, you learn programs and guidelines, you master your tools, and you can have an unbelievable career. And that's the beauty of this opportunity. And it's just because we were all fortunate enough to be introduced to it. That's it. You know, none of us are that special other than we were fortunate enough to be introduced to a career that pays the way that this one can pay. That's awesome. That's a great opportunity. It's like a secret. I remember Giuseppe and I had dinner to celebrate his first six-figure month in income. And we were sitting at dinner and he goes, it's like this weird secret that people don't know. And what I don't understand is why more people don't take advantage of this opportunity. Like when people come and they start and then they end up going on somewhere else, like, oh, I'm going to go try this somewhere else. And that's the cool thing about this opportunity is that that's cool. And I'm going to just read, I'm reading from the first chapter of Ninja Selling. Remember, Ninja Selling talks about there's 3 keys to your success in this business: mindset, skill set, and daily activities. That's it. Mindset, your skill set, and your daily activities. And the most important one, in not just my opinion, but the books, is mindset. It's the most important one. It starts there. Because if you could be a badass at this, you could be excellent at the skills, you could be doing all the daily activities. If your mindset is screwed up, if you're negative, if you're not approaching this from the right perspective, you're not going to get the results. Doesn't matter how good you are at what you do. So let's read this, because mastery, this is cool. It's about mastery. I love that word mastery, because master this craft. Okay. Make that commitment that you're going to master the craft. And because of the opportunity. So mastery in one's career and consciousness growth simply requires that we constantly produce results beyond and out of the ordinary. Mastery is a product of consistently going beyond our limits. And for most people, it starts with technical excellence in a chosen field and a commitment to that excellence. Technical excellence in a chosen field and commitment to that excellence. If you're willing to commit yourself to excellence and to this is important, to surround yourself with things that represent this and miracles, your life will change. When we speak of miracles, we speak of events or experiences in the real world which are beyond the ordinary. This business is that, beyond the ordinary. Like I say it all the time when I sit in a restaurant, and there's like, you look around that restaurant and you try to just imagine how many people are making more money than the money that you can make in this business. Not many, if any. It's remarkable how much mediocrity we live with, surrounding ourselves with daily reminders that the average is the acceptable. Our world suffers from terminal normality. Take a moment to assess all the things around you that promote that you're being average. These are things that keep you powerless to go beyond the limit you arbitrarily set for yourself. The first step to mastery is the removal of everything in your environment that represents that mediocrity, removing those things that are limiting. One way is to surround yourself, listen to this, one way is to surround yourself with friends and people that ask more of you than you ask of yourself. That's important, because didn't some of your best teachers, coaches, and parents do that? They did. They asked more of you than you asked of yourself, and you did more because of it. This is a really important thing. So who you're surrounding yourself with, who you're listening to, who you're reading, who you're associating with. And the sad thing about this business, I've always said that, not about this business, the sad thing about personal growth is that when you decide that you're going to raise the bar in your life, you make a decision about who you might have to leave behind, and indeed who you're going to leave behind. And it's sad sometimes, because people that you really care about, but you can start to see like, oh my God, this isn't good for me. These people aren't good for me. These aren't the kind of people, they're negative. They speak negative all the time. Anyway, another step on the path to mastery is the removal of resentment toward those who have mastered. Develop compassion for yourself that you can be in the presence of masters and grow from the experience. Really important here, because this business does this all the time. Rather than comparing yourself and resenting people who have mastery, remain open and receptive. Let the experience be like the planting of a seed within you that with nourishment will grow into your own individual mastery. You see, we are all ordinary, but a master, rather than condemning himself for this ordinariness, I don't know if that's a word, will embrace it and use it as a foundation for building the extraordinary. Rather than using it as an excuse for inactivity, he will use it as a vehicle for correcting, which is essential in the process of attaining mastery. You must be able to correct yourself without invalidating or condemning yourself, to accept results and improve upon them. Correct, don't protect. Correction is essential to power and mastery. So this is this is on page 10 and 11. So this is going to be the beginning of the mindset training platform that we're building, that is going to be a learning path in Salesforce. That whole idea of mastery, what they say to do this is that for the first 30 days that you're doing the Ninja Selling Program is to read that and then read it once a week. Because planning the idea in your head of being a master at this craft is really important, and deciding that you're going to just decide. All you have to do is decide, I'm going to master this. And you can, I'm just going to do what I have to do to master it. And it can become this amazing thing. Now, so what does it take? Because I always think that's one of the hardest parts is I don't think you listen to that and you probably think, well, that sounds great, but how do you keep going? How do you do that? And so I'm gonna play another video for you here that I just heard this week, so it was really apropos. I've got to share my screen. Give me a second. Okay.
School and in life depends on much more than your ability to learn quickly and easily. I started studying kids.
Sorry,
what if doing well in school and in life depends on much more than your ability to learn quickly and easily? I started studying kids and adults in all kinds of super challenging settings. And in every study, my question was, who is successful here and why? My research team and I went to West Point Military Academy. We tried to predict which cadets would stay in military training and which would drop out. We went to the National Spelling Bee and tried to predict which children would advance farthest in competition. We partnered with private companies asking which of these salespeople is going to keep their jobs and who's going to earn the most money. In all those very different contexts, one characteristic emerged as a significant predictor of success. And it wasn't social intelligence, it wasn't good looks, physical health, and it wasn't IQ. It was grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. Grit is having stamina. Grit is sticking with your future, day in, day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future a reality. A few years ago, I started studying grit in the Chicago public schools. I asked thousands of high school juniors to take grit questionnaires, and then waited around more than a year to see who would graduate. Turns out that grittier kids were significantly more likely to graduate, even when I matched them on every characteristic I could measure. Things like family income, standardized achievement test scores, even how safe kids felt when they were at school. So it's not just at West Point or the National Spelling Bee that grit matters, it's also in school, especially for kids at risk for dropping out. Every day, parents and teachers ask me, how do I build grit in kids? So far, the best idea I've heard about building grit in kids is something called growth mindset. This is an idea developed at Stanford University by Carol Dweck, and it is the belief that the ability to learn is not fixed, that it can change with your effort. Dr. Dweck has shown that when kids read and learn about the brain and how it changes and grows in response to challenge, they're much more likely to persevere when they fail because they don't believe that failure is a permanent condition. So growth mindset is a great idea for building grit, but we need more. We need to take our best ideas, our strongest intuitions, and we need to test them. We need to measure whether we've been successful, and we have to be willing to fail, to be wrong, to start over again with lessons learned.
Love that. So focus on the long-term goals, not for weeks, not for months, but for years. We brought in
We're here today to talk to Angela Duckworth, whose book.
we brought in a industrial like psychologist, workplace psychologist person, and we evaluated. This is when Giuseppe, Jacqueline, and Chris were here. Casey wasn't here yet, and nobody else was here. Those that are here today. Those three guys were here, and there were some other loan officers that were working here at the time. And there was testing that was done, and they all evaluated. It was based on like, I don't know what they, I can't remember all the questions. You guys did several surveys, online things. What came back is the biggest difference between the most successful people here at the time and everybody else that wasn't producing at that same level is that the most successful people saw the goal, the long-term goal, and they said, I can do that. So I'm going to do the work so that I can reach that goal. They didn't say, I'm going to try to do the work. They just said, I'm doing it. And I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to put in the time and the effort, and I'm going to make that happen. And that's what she's talking about. Not for weeks, not for months, but for years. You've decided when you make a decision that I'm going to master something, you can't master something in a week or a month or a year. Mastery requires a lifetime commitment, and the rewards are phenomenal to master something. So your ability to learn can change with your effort. You know how exciting that sounds? It just means that I got to keep trying. I just got to keep trying. And then failure is not a permanent condition. We fail a lot in this business. We've talked about, you've seen the Aaron Payne video. It's a loser. Baseball players strike out 70% of the time. They're first ballot Hall of Famers. If they can hit safely 30% of the time, they're first ballot Hall of Famers, and they have the biggest contracts. They failed 70% of the time. They don't see striking out as failure. They see it as something that they're going to learn and that they're going to grow from. So that's what I want to try to impart to everybody today, is to understand, just make that commitment to mastery. How exciting is that? And having that kind of a long-term view of this, surrounding yourself. That's what I love about this group, is that everybody's working really hard. Everybody's got the same mindset. I want to see what I can become. And that is what it takes to really make that happen. So really excited to share that stuff. I will send out the link I will send out that grit video to everybody so that you have a link to it and you can watch it yourselves. And then most of you have a copy of Ninja Selling. If you want to read that deal, read the first few pages after it mastered, because it talks about reading that every day. Maybe I think that might be something that I'm going to do, is I'm going to put myself on a 30-day diet of reading that book, reading that mastery thing again, because really powerful. So thanks for listening. Okay, so a couple of other things that I want to touch on, and then John's going to talk a little bit about some of the pricing realities of what we're seeing as we do some loan pricing, and he's got some really good insights that I want to share. I have some more work to do on this, but short term. So we've been waiting for merchants. We've been waiting for our warehouse line to give us approval to do the bridge purchase and the bridge cash out refinance program. We have the approval. We got the approval this week, and we've already started the conversations. I have another call today with Kathy Knapp, because what we have to do is we have to have a set of docs that a customer so we don't have a note right now for people to sign. So we're going to be working, those of you that remember Schwartz Docs, we're going to be working with Schwartz Docs to build a note and a deed, just a closing package for that loan. So we still have to get that in place, and then we have to get a loan program built in Encompass, but we're working on it. We have another call with a group of people today, so I'm excited that we get to have that, and then we can not have to use these stupid Revive program, which doesn't, but it'll be a really exciting thing to have. And we're going to have to walk before we run, but I'm really excited that we're going to have that. The Renee kickoff, I just want to touch on this. The Renee Rodriguez kickoff event Monday morning. I might have some people who don't work here on that call, because it's an opportunity for recruiting as well. So just FYI, I might try to bring in some real estate people as well. I'm going to reach out to a couple of you to see if that's something that you might want to do. Bring some, if you have some leaders in real estate, like I'm thinking maybe Giuseppe, like somebody like Stella. If Stella wanted to be part of it, she can use it as a recruiting opportunity for real estate agents that she's trying to recruit. So if anybody has people like that in their team leaders or something like that, there's something that you could do with that as well. I'll send everybody. I know it's short notice. I apologize for that, to try to get them on a call for Monday. But John, why don't you go ahead and share some of the things that you and I have been talking about and some of the research that we've been doing, and we have more to do. But these are some really interesting insights on pricing and the reality of the kind of market that we're in, because I'm seeing this with that group that I'm in, the coaching group that I'm in. There's all these chat threads on whatever that freaking other texting app that I use is. And so this is what I'm hearing this isn't uncommon what we're seeing. So go ahead.
So this has come up a couple of times this week, and it's been coming up a lot for us. So I just wanted to explain why. So we all know, and we've been in this business a long time, when you're pricing a loan, traditionally you're looking at about 1 point to change your rate about a quarter, right? Pretty standard in our thinking. When rates are lower, that changes, and rates are higher, that changes. It's probably only true at about 4%, because 4% is historically about the middle of the market. So this is a very simplified version of how the money moves after we close a loan. But I wanted to kind of explain why we're seeing right now, even, what are we seeing? 1/8 of a point is changing our rate a quarter sometimes, or, like the cost to change our rate is just much different right now. So in a big picture, stocks versus bonds, we hear about this a lot, and we're seeing all the daily commentaries that are like, the market's not normal, the market's not normal, the market hadn't been normal since COVID. But a normal market is stocks are risky, bonds are safe. When stocks are being risky, the money's going to move into bonds. When stocks are safe, money's going to move out of bonds, and that's how you're kind of determining what the investors want in their return. But the high level here is bonds are safe. Bonds are where safe investors want their money. And if you look at your 401k, you're looking at a system where if you want to be more conservative, you're going to have more money in bonds. You usually do that when you're older. If you're going to be more aggressive, you have money in stocks. But these institutional investors, they have a mandate to have safe money and unsafe money balanced, right? So to talk about how the money moves, when we're creating a mortgage-backed security, we're creating, say, $100 million worth of bonds, mortgage-backed securities that is normally going to sell for about 103%. So we're taking $100 million, and an institutional investor, is giving us $103 million for it. That's how we make our money. They're taking that, so they're paying more than the thing is worth, and what they're doing is they're making that interest for so many years. So they know exactly when they buy that interest that they paid, that 3% premium, they're going to make that back at 21 months, and they're going to make a profit at a 4% return for the next 7 years and 6 months, right? And then after that, the bond is actually worth less than the face value, and they're usually just going to dump it because that runoff has gone from about $100 million. People refi, they sell, and now at that point it's worth about maybe $28 million, and they just don't want it in their books. And the reason they don't, and the reason that that's important, is because when bonds run off, that money turns to cash, and these institutional investors cannot have cash on their books. They can't. It's illegal and it's super unsafe. It's just like if you have more than $250,000 in your checking account and your bank goes out of business, you're not insured for that. Well, these institutional investors are not insured for hundreds of millions of dollars sitting in cash. So they hate it, and it's really expensive when that money becomes cash faster than they can spend it, faster than they can replace it with other bonds that are in the safe thing. They run off faster, they're not prepared to buy those bonds. So that makes it more expensive. So when you have a higher rate environment, they know the runoff is higher, and that curve is not, it's not a straight line going from 4 to 5 to 6. It's very curved. The higher the rates get, the higher the runoff gets, and they hate runoff. So because they hate runoff, the investors aren't going to pay 103 or 104 for that $100 million. They're only going to pay maybe 99 and a half. And they're going to have to make up the difference because we're not creating these bonds to not make money. So your clients are making up the difference, and they're making it up. The higher the rates get, the higher premium they're going to have to pay, because when they have that 6% bond, they're making 6% return. That's a lot better than 4, right? But they're going to lose that return a lot faster. They're going to probably lose that return in about, they're going to make money quicker, but they're going to lose that return in about 3 years, because in 3 years, that's probably going to be a $28 million bond again that they're going to sell for a loss. And they don't want that unpredictability, because the risk is they think it's going to be 3 years when they're pricing the bond, but what if it's 2? Then they're going to lose tons of money. They're going to have this money sitting in cash and they can't replace it. So that's why we're seeing right now where there's no premium pricing at all. They're making people pay for the rate because they know they're going to refinance and they're going to run off quick. They're also making us pay for that bond because the investors are just not going to pay the normal premium for it. So just kind of wanted to put that out there, like as a simplified reason why the market is looking so weird right now, why we can, when we have a 4% LLPA on investment property, you're paying for that because they know there's runoff there and they can't create that coupon, that higher coupon. They can't create an 8% to cover it because nobody's going to buy it.
So normally a point's worth a quarter in rate, right? You see that all, I mean, that's how I've always, that's how most of us think about what's a point worth. It saves a quarter in rate. It's about a 4-year break even. Like, but that doesn't happen right now. Like, nah, we want more than a point for a quarter, right? But then you go ahead and put up 2 points and we'll give you almost a point in rate, right? They love that, because if you can get somebody from 5 7/8 to 5, the bond investor loves that note. Like, oh yeah, give us 2 points. We'll keep it because the 5, because the runoff, does this make sense? The runoff on the 5% note won't happen. The customer will keep the note longer, right?
Yeah.
They'll have it longer. And so that's having an impact across the board on the way some of these loans are getting priced. So I'm going to do some more research just so you know what I'm doing. I'm not just like, so too bad. Like, I don't want us to not get some of these loans. I'm going to talk to Corbett and see what else we can do. So if we can make some adjustments, especially on those lower loan amounts that would offset some of this. So, and at the end of the day, you have to understand what's really happening and why, so that you can do a better job of explaining it to your clients. Because quite frankly, if I can save a client almost a point, like I looked at one yesterday, it was like 2 points, it's saved almost a full point in rate. It's like, well, that's not a bad investment. That's actually not a bad investment. A point in rate's a lot. And if I can get a seller concession for that, it's like, well, I might have to compare that to, that's not a bad deal, right? So just keep that in mind. It's just a weird time in the marketplace because it's just an inflated, it's not 1 for 1, like it's not 1 for a quarter, I guess is what I want to say. Like 2 points should only be worth a half, but if I can break even in 2 years, that's pretty good. Like I might do that, right? Because 2 years isn't that long. I know I'll keep my loan for 2 years, right? So it's just something to keep in mind as you're trying to explain this and run these mortgage coach analysis. The more educated you are, the better you can explain it to people as to what's really going on.
Questions?
All right. Any feedback? Anybody want to add anything? Anybody?
Thank you for explaining that, John. That was awesome.
We can rehearse it if you want.
Actually, it'd be really good information for you guys to share with your real estate agents too, because they don't get it. This is a really interesting thing. Just as a reminder, I love real estate agents. I love real estate agents. Real estate agents have provided me and my family with tons of abundance in my life. They do not understand much at all about mortgages and financing. And Jay Manwaring was out on a sales call this week, and he came back and he's like, they don't know anything. It's like, oh yeah, let me just remind everybody, they don't know. They just don't really get mortgages. You are an expert. Even if you've only closed 1 or 2 loans, you know exponentially more. Maybe you don't think you're an expert in this environment here, but in that environment, you're an expert. right? You know more than they're going to know, and just go out there with that confidence that when you're talking about mortgages, when you're sharing this information, that you know more than they know, and by far, like it isn't even close. So, so there you go. Just know that, right? And with confidence, go out and share this information, because that's lead them, right? They want to be led. They want to be led. All right, everybody, let's have an awesome Friday. I'll see everybody on the Friday call. Thanks, everyone.